Now, last night, a rare blue supermoon could be seen from around the UK and across the world, delighting thousands of onlookers who have been taking some amazing photos.
Yeah, it was the first of 4 consecutive supermoons to come over the next few months. Well, Dr. John Pernet-Fisher from the University of Manchester is with us. Morning.
Morning.
Loads of amazing images
Yes.
all over social media, all over the internet today, looking like this. Explain, first of all, why it is like this.
Yeah, so basically, this is quite a rare sort of astronomical bit involving the moon that has 3 different features sort of combining to form what we have, this blue supermoon,
Yeah.
but also the fact that it's red. So firstly, it's red because, as you probably covered on this programme a few weeks ago, there's been quite a lot of wildfires up in North America, mostly Canada, I think. And smoke particles has been travelling across the jet stream, making its way across to this neck of the woods. And those particles are diffusing the light that's being reflected from the moon, giving this sort of reddish glow. So firstly, that's why the moon has been looking quite red, and some of you may have noticed that the sunsets and sunrise have been a bit redder than usual at the moment. But also, we have a blue moon and a supermoon. So the supermoon means that the moon, as it orbits the Earth, is not quite circular. So there are periods of time where it's a little bit closer to the Earth and a little bit further away. And this is one of these supermoon events. And so this is the closest the moon can possibly get to the Earth currently during its sort of orbit around our planet.
So that's the red, that's the super.
That's the super.
Why blue?
And the blue. So this is where things get a little bit more complicated because there are 2 definitions of a blue moon. There's the more modern version, which basically just means there are 2 full moons in a calendar month. So obviously you've got the moon that's rotating. So the moon is rotating around the Earth, but it's also rotating as well. That's why you have a new moon and a full moon, because the moon is rotating as it's orbiting the Earth. And so that period of rotation is a little bit smaller than a calendar month. And so every now and again, you'll basically get this extra free full moon. But that's the modern definition of a blue moon. This is where things get a bit more complicated then. So the older version of the blue moon is what's known as the seasonal definition. And so each season, like summer, for instance, normally has 3 full moons. On occasion, it can have a 4th full moon, and it's the 3rd one that's called the blue moon. And I guess this sort of stems back to, historically, all the different moons throughout the year have got different names. And so people might have heard of, for instance, a harvest moon, which is typically in September, October time, which coincides with harvest festivals and stuff. And so this probably is some old medieval sort of definition of why some people would have called this a blue moon.
And speaking of definitions, the rarity is the origin of the phrase once in a blue moon.
Indeed, yeah. It doesn't happen very often. So it really, this sort of blue moon in the seasonal definition only really happens every 2 to 3 years, basically.
So when are we likely to see this combination again?
So this particular combination, it is quite rare. So funnily enough, actually, there was one last August, but the next one isn't due to be until the 2030s. So it is kind of a sort of a once-in-a-decadal type event. So that's why it's a bit special.
We probably should have enjoyed it more this morning. we looked out the window at 5 o'clock and went, yeah, it's not that big or that blue.
It's the moon.
But we've had a great year for sort of stargazing this year. I mean, the Northern Lights earlier this year looked incredible as well. Is there something particular going on about, where we're positioned at the moment?
Yeah, so, well, the Northern Lights in particular, so the sun goes through periods of sort of activity, and it cycles between sort of very intense activity to very low activity, and at the moment we're in a period of high activity. So we may indeed be seeing some more nice displays of Northern Lights in the next few years if we're really lucky. But yeah, that one last summer, or a few months ago, was spectacular, wasn't it?
You ready for a slightly mad question? What impact does a full moon have on us?
Well, I mean, it does affect the tides slightly, but I mean, yeah.
That's about it. No werewolves.
No werewolves,
no banshees, no vampires, nothing like that. No. That's us told.
But it affects the tides, I knew that.
Yeah, that's also important, yeah. So nice to see you this morning. Thank you.
John, thank you.
And thank you so much for your images as well. You've been sending so many in. Keep them coming. We'll look at some more of them a little later, but maybe not quite as spectacular as this on a normal phone.
I know. I now feel like we maybe should have taken a photo of the moon that we saw on the way in.
For posterity.
Yes, because we're not going to see another one like it for a long time.
Yeah, well, that was the moon that we looked at and went there.